start the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call.
Grant. Here. Jennings.
Here.
Malik.
Yes.
Martini.
Here.
Jankowski.
Here.
Sinkwitz.
Here.
Snyder.
Here. Great. All right. Agenda additions. Anybody have anything to add?
I would like to add down when we get to lake enforcement, I have an issue that I want to bring up as far as law enforcement on the lake.
Okay, so do we need to add something or just cover it there? Just cover it there?
No, I'm trying to get a radar gun that'll work on the lake.
Okay. We'll
That's-
cover it there.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, cool. So, any other additions here for the agenda? All right, motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, meeting minutes. I wasn't here, but I did watch part of the video. I don't know, I'm gonna be the one to approve the minutes here, so I guess you guys would get a chance to review the minutes?
I already did, because I got them on my council packet.
Okay.
I make a motion to accept the minutes as presented.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, perfect. Call the public.
I want the guy in chair 3.
Chair 3, please come up to the mic, the podium. All right. State your address. Yeah, state your address. All right, we'll move on from call to the public. All right, new business. I think we'll cover this in the lake enforcement area, so I think that was the only thing that came in as new business. Let me just confirm.
Anything regarding what the counts?
We'll do that.
I didn't see a specific.
Oh, yeah, we don't have it on it. Okay, so I'll just talk about the bird count and the boat count. So every year we had a member that would go out and count all the birds and boats. We haven't really, I would say, done much with the information, but it's something that the village has been tracking for like forever. He left, it was Doug Nye, who used to do it. So then we went out and we did the counts ourselves, myself and Rob. So we track a couple of different things. So I'll start with the birds, and I'll send this to everybody. So generally when we go do the count, we do ducks, geese, swans, and herons. For the record, we counted, so this is, I would say this was fairly late for us to do the count. It was basically end of July. Usually we do it end of June or beginning of June, right? Before the birds start leaving. So I would say these numbers are low, but not surprisingly low. Ducks, we counted 188, which was down from 247. Geese, we counted 73, which was down from 122. Swans, we counted 10, which was down from 17. And herons, we counted only 1. I would say these are not low. We've had many years with significantly lower numbers than these, but just lower than last year, I think mostly because of how late we counted them.
But have people noticed, though, that it has been lower this year? I mean, did you actually notice that on the lake?
Well, what
Because-
surprises me is they didn't do a goose roundup.
Yeah, last year,
Right.
And look how low it is.
yeah, so last year, we didn't do the goose roundup. We had 122. But I would say every other year, it's basically the numbers, I'll read them down, right, starting from 2012. 40, 59, 70, 64, 77, 24, 53, 122, first year, no goose roundup, and 73. So we did count late, last year we counted at the end of June. So maybe the low number is a little low, but kind of on par with what we were doing before the goose roundup. So next year we got to do a better job, probably count them again around June to try and normalize it a little bit, but yeah.
The geese are flying out to the cornfields now.
Yeah. It's already late.
When you take your count, how do you go about it? I mean,
Rob drives very slowly.
no, the reason I asked
I
this
count the
question,
birds, he counts the boats.
well, I drive past our beach 4
Anything
times
you
a
can
week.
see.
And I'll tell you what, we got 50 of them on our beach.
Yeah,
Well,
You know, I mean.
so we basically went out at
9 a.m.
9 a.m.
On a Sunday.
and went very slowly around the
When they're
lake.
still in their nests still.
Yeah, anything we can see from the boat on the lake or on the shore, we count it.
I just didn't know how or where you were going with it.
Yeah. So I think next year we probably need to get it really back in June. We actually knew that this year around. We had a date, and then, like I said, we usually do the bird count around June 20th, but this year we didn't get around to it, so we made it up late. Okay.
But I'm curious, for the members here, I mean, you're on the lake, did you see, I thought there was fewer than there have been in the past years.
For geese?
Certainly with the swans.
Swans felt like they were low, but
I thought the geese too. I
but
mean,
even last year, they only counted 17. I felt like we had 1 million swans last year.
Yeah.
well,
Depends on when you count it.
It does, because at the end of the season,
There's
when the
noise.
boating traffic went down, I mean, I would take my rowboat out, I counted 55 in one morning
Swans?
when I went
Oh,
swans.
yeah,
when I went out.
it seems like in the fall,
Yeah,
when the water starts to go down, they show up more.
Oh, yeah, we'll get 100 swans towards
Yeah.
the end of the season, yeah.
so, I don't know, again, it may have something to do with the time of year. I don't know what would be the right time to, I mean, do we have to do the same time every year to get a real, true
Yeah, but you
assessment?
got to remember, with wild birds and animals, weather means everything. If it's been hot or cold or dry,
Yeah.
when they molt, you want to get them when they're not flying. And that's when they molt, just like the ducks. But people don't realize that the swans are not native to Michigan. They don't fly south.
There's so many variables to it. It's the only consistency you can really have is date, and then if you wanted to record the type of weather. But
Yeah, we just got to do date. We
Yeah.
tried to do it at the end of June, and then something happened. I couldn't go, you couldn't go, one of us couldn't go.
I think you were on vacation again.
And, you know, we don't do anything with that information anyway.
Yeah, it's just for
something.
history.
Get two guys and go out there and do
I
something.
guess if it went to 0 one year, we'd know. Or if it went to
Right.
1,000, we'd do something about it. But
But I mean, did there seem to be, regardless of that, was there any nuisance, any issue that was a problem for anyone? I mean, no one seemed to be complaining about anything, at least to us, other than Ed with the goose problem in his backyard.
They just I've got that easement lot, and they
Yeah,
don't have to jump up on a seawall.
right.
Okay, so the next thing was the boat count, so I'll just kind of cover that. So generally, we were counting them, in the past, they were always broken up as power boats, personal watercrafts, which obviously are jet skis, pontoons, and then non-powered boats, and then planes, which we don't have any. This year, we broke it up different. Instead of just doing power boats, I counted wakeboard boats, ski boats, and then other boats. So anything that was a wakeboard boat, or just because people actually seem concerned about it. I counted wakeboard boats and surf boats together, ski boats together, and then anything else that's a powered boat that's not a pontoon went into a bucket. So those would be like any kind of standard IO type boat and PWC. So again, different people counting, so some noise in the data. Pontoon boats are up a bunch. They went for, there's 355 pontoon boats on the lake, which previously was 313. Jet skis were 70. It's usually around 70 or 75. I would say it's been trending down over the years. If you plot this, back in 2003, there was 130 jet skis on the lake, and it basically has trended down every year. There's 75 that we counted this time, or 70, which is the lowest since 2003. Non-powered boats, I would say this number is a result of different people counting. In the non-powered boats, I counted anything that was a kayak, paddle boat, canoe, these types of things. I didn't count paddle boards, right? So I counted 232 of those. Previous year was at 430. So I think
How many?
430 they put in last year. which is, I think we're just counting differently. In years past, it was 300, 320, 315. So I think what was classified as a non-power boat probably is different, where I didn't count things like paddle boards.
But we didn't count paddleboards.
I didn't count paddle
How many
boards.
power boats did you say we
So
had?
the power boats, total for that was 165, which previous year was 192. So pontoons up, power boats down. Across that, there were 34 wakeboard boats, 24 ski boats, and 107 other kinds of powered boats. Your typical, cruising roundabout type boat.
I'm surprised we have that many wakeboard boats.
Yeah, 34. Okay, so that's the output of the counts. Again, we don't generally do much with it. The total boat number is kind of where it's been, which is high 800s to 900s. Last year, they counted 1,010, but I think that's basically from the non-powered section, so. Nothing, no astronomical changes, I would say, and I think probably going forward, we'll keep counting the different types of boats a little bit differently.
So really, the purpose is for what? To see if the boat ratio is higher than the home ratio, the
Yeah, but
properties and
there's not
others?
anything to do there, really, because there's not, I have 2 boats in my house, plus, I have 2 boats and a paddle boat and a paddle board. I mean, you can
And when you have
1,000
different
kayaks.
people counting it every year,
Yeah, but I mean,
it's just something to do.
there's no rule that says you can't have 4 boats at your house.
Yeah.
Right. So there's not really much to do with it. Again, just like the bird count, maybe we could do something different, but it's a public lake, right? But it's more for consistency. I mean, it's been, this boat count, I'll send the data out, it's been counted since 1997.
Do we know the original intent? I mean, is it just to find out what kind of traffic we're going to find on the lake at any given time?
Yeah, I don't know that, like I said, I've only been on the board for, 5 or 6 years, and we haven't taken any action based on the number, right? It's been a tracking thing.
I think it was more of a curiosity.
Yeah, and I think it's probably,
We don't
if
do
something
anything.
goes crazy and we get 700 extra boats one year, I mean, you would observe it.
But-
You don't need to count them to
Right.
make that number.
Yeah.
If you're noticing now that the people that live on the lake, their sons and daughters are moving out of high school
Yeah.
and on to college or someplace else, and that's why you're seeing a drop in jet skis.
Well, yeah, what's
There's a
interesting.
lot of them up for sale.
What's interesting is that there has been a steady increase in pontoons over the years, a steady decrease in jet skis over the years. And the power boats
People are
have,
getting older.
I did it.
but power boats have been basically low 200s. So if I just rattle off some numbers, 218, 217, 228, 215, 228, 255, 224, 216, 192. So like they've been about the same, and then pontoons have gone, they've gone from 211 to 313. So, well, I'll plot the trends. I'll plot it over a year. I'll send you guys an image, but it's interesting nonetheless. Okay.
This is the first year we've called out wakeboards, is that right?
Separately, yeah, but I just summed them up there at 192. Okay, I'll send that information out. It's just interesting, if nothing else. All right, anything else for new business? I don't think I have anything else. Anybody else have anything new? All right, current lake level, for you guys, if you don't know, we've got a measuring device over at the dam, tells you the lake level. Everybody has access to a dashboard that looks like this. Shows you the lake level, so we're basically right on. We're right at our target, less than an inch away from the target, so we've got a bandwidth that we control to, right? If the water gets too high, we open the sluice gates and let water out underneath the dam. So we've been really good all year. This year, keeping it in track. We had one spike with that torrential downpour that we just had because it was pretty high already. So we spent about 3 days over the desired limit, but it got back down within 3 days, and now it's like right where it needs to be. So
Because they let the water out? Some?
yeah, I believe they had.
So what is the variance? What's the confidence interval we're trying to get?
It's from minus. If I zoom this out, I can tell you. I have alarms set, so
I think it's a 2 inches, isn't it?
no, it's more than that. I think it's more than that.
For over or below?
Yeah, let me tell you. And we've got alarms set, so as it's approaching the top, we get a text message and all this other stuff. All right, so it is. So we open the gates when it's 2.4 inches over the target, and we close the gates when it's 2 inches, so that we have a top line. If it goes 2 inches above, we open the gates. If it gets 1.8 inches below, we close the gate. So that's like the history that's on the gate.
When do you turn the pumps on?
Is it 1.8 and 2?
Let me see. I don't think I have the pump number here.
Did you say
I didn't know if
1.8?
I can't remember them,
Yeah.
Automatic.
having a number.
1.8 and 2, minus 1.8 and plus 2.
Yeah, so we do, I'll give you the exact numbers. If you want, in the actual, 918.25 is the target, 918.45 is when we open the gates, and 918.1 is when we close the gate. I could send this out, and you can see the plot. I also,
So was it only that time during that rainfall that we exceeded our
Yep.
variance?
Yep. And you can see in the plot, right, this is the accumulated rain, right? And then that's the dam level. Come down here, you can see this thing increments rain by the month.
I've always maintained that if we had a little more water in the lake because of rain or something like that, it's free. But if you got to put water
Oh, yeah.
in, you got to pay for it.
I don't think we've turned the pumps on yet this year.
Oh, yes. Pumps have been on.
Why, I don't know.
I was at the upstairs talking to them.
Yeah?
They said the pumps have been on more than once.
Okay. Yeah, they usually.
Well, look at the rainfall.
Yeah, they
Except
usually
the last
email
big one we had.
There were the general areas like 5 inches below normal on rainfall.
Below?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they're saying on the,
DNR said you can easily use 1 inch of lake level on a hot summer day with boats out there. Evaporation and spray and all that.
Okay, noteworthy complaints to the village. I don't know if you guys saw anything specific. I can't recall. Admin didn't give me anything. Okay. Next here, just the key date review that I usually go through. So, again, the Goose Roundup was supposed to be in June. We just did it. Boat count, we usually do August 1st. So we got that done. Fishing tournament just happened in August. So the only things I have left here, so Labor Day is generally the last day we do any treatment. So by the time we meet again, we'd basically be done with any kind of lake treatments. The last day we usually run the harvester is around October 12th. And then the lake drawdown, usually we start it in October 15th. Last year we delayed it, and I actually had a couple people reach out to me that they appreciated the lake being up higher later because they got more time on the lake later in the year. And we still had it down long before there was any ice. So I'm thinking
Continue with that.
maybe not, maybe next meeting we can talk about that specifically, but maybe extend it to October 31st again like we did last year because there was no negative effects and we actually got some people.
A lot of
Reached out to
people try
that.
to do repair work on their seawalls and on their docks
Yeah.
and decks.
Yeah.
Once it gets cold and frost, there's a lot you can't do. As far as
Yeah.
painting and repairing.
Yeah, yeah.
I think one of the things you need to do there is send a note to council
Yeah.
asking them,
No, we would just make a motion and tell them.
and send it through to delay it again this year.
Yeah. Like I said, I got at least 2 people reached out saying that they liked it and nobody complained last year that it was a problem. So I'll take 2 votes for against 0 votes against and see
So
what
it was
happens.
October,
We left it till the end of October last year because remember they're doing
and
the
what was it
launch
before?
maintenance.
What was it before?
We usually do October 15th is usually when we start. So we just went to the end of the month.
But aren't most of the boats out of the water by mid-October?
No.
No, that's what I'm saying.
No.
People last year were, we kept it. in
Depends on the
motion.
weather.
Yeah,
Yeah.
depends on the weather.
Okay.
So, we're worth commenting on next time, but, so that's it. That's what I got there for the key dates. Okay, let's go through the continuing business, unless anybody has anything to add. Plant control and invasive species, I don't know if there's anything specific anybody wants to add? The lake's been really, like I said, from my perspective, the lake's been actually in really good shape this year, at least the areas that I frequent. It has been.
Yeah, the canal's been, when we were out there,
We
it
went
was
back there, it
like
looked really good.
clear.
And then usually back by me, we get periods of time where the weeds are breaking the surface of the water and they're up and stuff, so I think it's looked pretty good this year. I haven't seen really any complaints. We had, again, usually with the harvester, people complaining that it's ripped up and going on their shore. I haven't seen any of that, so.
Then what's the worst of two evils?
Yeah, and listen, no, I'm just saying in general, like usually, a couple of years ago, we had a lot of complaints about, every time the harvester went out, the weed just ended up on people's shores and people were complaining about it, but I haven't heard any of that, nor have I seen it, so, in general, I feel like.
I noticed too how nice the canal was. I wonder if it's because we did that
Super
early
early
treatment.
I bet
Might
you
have had a
helped.
big effect on it.
Could have been, because it looks good.
Yeah.
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 The only thing about that is I know that at first meeting when I was here, and I interviewed, that gentleman said that I think that was the last year they could use that chemical.
Yeah, so it's a very specific copper that, it's not that they can't use it, it's the dates in which they can't use it.
Oh, okay.
So
There's
they-
a time factor.
Yeah, they don't let you use it like when the fish are spawning anymore.
Okay.
So what we did this year is we did a kind of a slow release version of it that we put in before those dates. So we went as close to those dates as possible and treated the
dropped
canal
it.
then.
Okay.
It was one of the things that we went after this year to try and fix, so I feel like it looks pretty damn good. Nobody's complaining about it, so. Okay, Eagle Grant, whose baby was that?
Here we go with this, yeah.
Your baby.
I thought I made a motion to take this off the agenda.
I think you did.
You
But-
probably did, but I just never updated.
But nonetheless, so I try to reach out, because as you recall, hopefully you recall, we had that boat cleaning station that was out there for a week.
Yeah.
I reached
Oh,
out
did
to
it
see
go,
if
did
there...
it show up? They did that?
Thanks for coming out to support
I was
us.
probably on vacation.
Yeah, no, you weren't. But anyway, I think it was like roughly July 7th through the 14th, roughly.
Okay, nice.
So I reached out to see if there was any way to check to see the utilization of it. I haven't gotten back, so I will follow up. But
Okay.
So the whole purpose behind this grant is, to do something regarding the Clean Boats, Clean Waters Act. So if that device wasn't used very much, and it doesn't seem that anybody else really cares that much, I don't want to submit for a grant if
Yeah.
it's going to give us
If nobody
money for
uses
me
it.
to put in a new station that nobody cares about.
So see if you get the usage, I think that's the right way to go, if they can
So
tell you.
I'll check the usage of that, and if it's zero, we can take this grant thing off until I find out if it's even worth my while to submit for, because you have to put together a proposal of what you want to do as far as education and all these things, and then you can get like $2,000 to possibly $3,000 that I thought we'd use to put a new cleaning station, which really isn't a cleaning station, it's something that you can pick the weeds off with and drain the village. So if people don't think that's, going to be of value, I don't want to waste the time putting together a grant for something that's not going to be
I think
used.
probably 8 out of 10 pull their boat out and they want to go.
Yeah.
They don't want to
I
take
have a
5
feeling
minutes
that
to...
that-
Yeah, they want to get every minute of fishing, and the
Yeah.
wife said, I got to be home by 1.
For sure.
And now it's dark, I ain't got time to do this, I got to go.
Right.
Okay, all right, so,
Shameful.
Can we remove that from the
yes,
agenda?
yes, we will do that.
I'll follow
next
up
time.
on my own to see if it's worth our while, and if not, I'll let you know.
We will remove it. Okay, the next thing, the harvester. So I did look at this a little bit. I'll give you guys the data that we have.
Which has got to be significant versus last
Yeah,
year,
well-
because I see that thing out
Yeah,
quite a bit.
okay, so the good thing is that we do have operators that are functioning, which is great. So the data that they have posted is only through July 21st, so I got to get them to update the rest of the sheets. So through July 21st, we had almost 96 hours run on the harvester, which is really good. I'll give you kind of hindsight. So our highest usage year since 2018 was 2020. And in 2020, we did 157 total hours. And by July 21st of 2020, we had 60 hours on.
They don't report how much they haul away, do
They
they?
do.
Oh, you got that?
Yep. So they report how many loads they have each time, which, give me a second. Oh, come on. It's not working. I'll have to, I'll send you the information, cover it next time, but we have 90, almost 96 hours on it. The same time in 2020, we only had 60 hours on it. So 50% more usage than the previous highest we've had at this point in time, which is good. I don't know where it'll end up. Obviously, last year was junk. Last year, we only had 68 total hours, so we've done 50% more than we did all of last
You
year.
can see the improvement.
Yeah. So,
The lake is in good shape.
in general, they're out there, they reckon it. I'll go and I'll count the whole load count. Previously, in 2020, it was 50, call it 54 total loads of weeds for the entire calendar year. Let me see if I can just quickly add these up. And this year, they have 42 out as of the 21st. So it's all trending in the right direction as far as usage, what they're getting out of there. I kind of like looking at it, which I don't have here, but usually I'll look at it as kind of loads per hour, right? What's a good usage there? Because, you know, to use the classic mow the lawn thing, right? If you keep mowing the lawn, it doesn't really do anything, but as long as you're getting a decent amount of loads out for every couple hours you're running, then it's worthwhile, right? But generally, every time they run it around 4 hours, 4.5 hours, they're pulling out like 2 loads of weeds, which is really good. It's generally.
And we only have 2 places to dump it, at the access and then down on Penny Lake.
Yeah, they pretty much dump it at the access. They say in the reports where they dump it. I didn't write them all down, but.
Where do they dump it?
They dump it right at the, well, they drop it off and then they come pick it up. They dump it across the street over here, but
Yeah.
they drop it by the boat launch
Oh,
when they're running.
Oh.
While they're running.
So, you know, if they're going to one end of the lake, it's all the way there, cut the weeds, load up, come back, so there's a lot of travel time.
okay, and then somebody picks it up and hauls it wherever they.
Yep,
haul it.
it goes to, right over here, in
Oh.
this park. You know, go past that gate all the way in the back, there's a whole, you go see it all stacked back there.
Yeah, I notice,
Yeah.
yeah. I go back there regularly.
And we hope we can keep using that.
Yeah, but,
Yeah, I was going to ask, is there a point where that runs out of space to dump things? Because.
no, I mean, we're not dumping, that big mountain of stuff is not this. As you're going back, so you go past the swing gate and you're heading back.
See,
Oh, I know.
the
I
problem
water my
is,
dog
they
back
put
there
up a
later.
sign there, keep out, keep out.
Yeah.
But when I was coaching baseball, you'd get people come in there, and they'd have a cup, you know, and using that in their garden,
Yeah.
and they go get that. I mean, that, you can't ask for a better fertilizer.
Once it dries out, it shrinks down.
Yeah, and it doesn't smell.
Doesn't break your back to get it there either.
But I did notice when I went back there, the way that there was cut grass back there, and the way that it was made in a circle, it was like a mosquito cesspool because it filled up with water. It was horrible smelling back there.
Nice.
So,
Okay,
just saying.
long story short, Harvester,
Clorox.
the operators are doing a really good job. We're not getting complaints on floating weeds. The hours are really good.
How many operators do we have now? 3?
I think they're rotating through 3, but it's mostly 2 people. I
yes,
just looked at the reports, and I think it's mostly just 2 people.
Okay.
Yeah, originally, we had 3 set up, but I believe it's 2 that are doing.
Anyway, they're doing a good job.
Yeah.
All right, next topic, lake shore maintenance. I don't have anything to talk about there. I don't know if anybody has anything on these topics, erosion cleanup, debris removal. All right, lake enforcement issues. So let's cover a couple things. First, so you want to cover the report?
Yeah, so last meeting, I think it was Ed, you had asked about, what were the tickets that we were getting on the lake? And so I asked David Gillum to provide us with this, and he spoke with Chief Ellsworth and got this report. So as you can see, the number one, so there are a total of 67 violations and 56 tickets written. The majority of them were speeding, causing a wake, which was at 34%. Next was high-speed boating after hours, which was 25%. And then thirdly was having a lack of appropriate life-saving equipment at 22%. Everything else was relatively low from there. But, because I think, Ed, the reason you had even asked about this was because you had noticed a lot of boats speeding. Is that right? Wasn't that the primary reason you had asked about it?
Yeah, that's why I wanted to bring up the radar gun.
So again, so the two top were relative to speeding, well, high-speed speeding, and I guess wake causing isn't necessarily speeding, but still. So your point, Ed?
Well, now that we know the information, we know where the sources are. And unfortunately, all you gotta do is go by the axis. There's the boat, there's no cop. So it's just a game, and they go out there and, especially some of these, what we're talking about it is, there are, years ago, when I had a fast boat, and when I came on here, there were full-blown Chrysler-blown dragster boats on this lake, about 6 of them. And high-speed boating was just, and thank God there were no accidents, but we had a mark where we could tell, and it was less than a quarter mile, but how many seconds it took you, and we could pretty much tell you how fast we're going. And I can tell you for a fact, there are jet skis out there that get real close to 75 and 80 miles an hour. And they do it all the time. And when I talked to the police chief about it, and he said, well, they've got a handheld unit, but it's not good enough to take somebody to court on, if you wrote them a ticket. And with as much safety as we try to implore on the lake, I think if our police officer had a sufficient gun that he could shoot it and said, you were doing 79 miles an hour, speed limit's 55, and write them up.
Is the speed limit 55?
Yes,
Is it
all lakes.
55 or 50?
55, all lakes.
Good. And the governor's only 15.
Well, is that true? Are you sure about that?
You know what? I think so. Go read the signages.
I was actually sorting on emails from you to see us.
I always
Yeah.
thought, truthfully, I thought it was
Yeah.
50, and the policeman said, no, it's 55.
It could be. I know it's close.
But anyway,
Yeah.
and I think that's something that we should convey to the council, and because as fast as they go, if somebody fell off and they got into all those pontoon boats parked there illegally every day, somebody's going to get killed.
Is there, is there something that says, this sign says 55. Is there something that says we've tried to write somebody to a ticket and they took us to court and we weren't able to enforce it?
I just asked him, and he says, I got the impression that it was a waste of time. Now, he could write him up for reckless or careless driving, so that's a point too.
I'm just not sure, I guess the problem we're attempting to solve, is it theoretical or something that they have, like, that they've tried to write a ticket and it didn't go through because their gun was not good enough?
It's something we can find out, but my understanding is that, most of the other stuff, you don't have a life jacket, you do,
Yeah.
before or after the hours, it's cut and dry. But there's a gray area. And most of the high-speed jet skis come from underneath the bridge, the other side there. There's 4 or 5 of them there, that these things, they jump, they take off, they do a wheelie. They come right out of the water, and they go by, and you don't have to be a policeman to know that they're doing a hell of a lot more than 55 miles an hour.
So what do you propose?
I'm proposing that we come up with a plan, whether it's a handheld, state-of-the-art gun, or something, and just not let it go unchecked. I mean, we just went and spent all that money in that beautiful boat, and here it's not sufficiently equipped.
So he said, what was going on with the speed gun? Like it wasn't like working or?
I've never seen it. I was told that there was an old one from a police car in there, but it's because there's not that much metal on a jet ski
Right.
or even on a boat, but a boat is bigger and it gives more of an image that it's very hard to pinpoint the speed. Like you could say, well, he was doing 15 over. Well, could it have been 12 or 13 or maybe 10?
I would suggest we send council a request to have the police department
Look into it.
look into it and find out what type of equipment is available and what costs to,
Yeah, I mean,
monitor boat speeds.
and I'm thinking for as much traffic as we have and people on the lake and everything that, I mean, if it was $1,000, that wouldn't be too much. I mean, I don't know what the price would be. But we can find
The
out.
main thing is, we haven't had major accidents, okay? And we want to keep it that way.
Amen.
And the only way to do that is enforce it. People don't like it, people that live on the lake are, 80% of them are the offenders, okay? But the fact is, you might be saving their life as well as someone else's.
But to the effect of the
So-
enforcement issue, if we aren't having anybody that contests a ticket, and we are giving people citations, it would seem like the remedy would be better thought of if we could figure out a way to create an enforcement mechanism when the police aren't patrolling. If there's a way to,
Well, it's just like going down the street. You can do 100 miles an hour down here
Yeah.
and not get a ticket.
but in some places you have a camera that'll take a picture of your car
true.
doing that.
I think it's my understanding, and not from our police department, but that because there's so little metal on a boat that you don't get the kind of reflection that you would off of a car or a truck. I don't know if that has anything to do with it, but I definitely think we need whatever we can give our police that they can, safely control the lake's speed, do whatever.
But on a council,
buying one of them without
No, I'm just saying what.
saying on the council side, okay, and it was mentioned, the enforcement factor. We have officers that do this part-time. We don't have a full-time officer who spends the day
Right.
or the nights out on the lake.
Right.
So, and like you say, they see the police boat parked, they know they can go on and do. So it's a budget factor too. Is this community in a position to put on a full-time officer with $1,000, if that's the number, piece of equipment? Because that $1,000 piece of equipment now turns into $20,000 because you got to have a guy there who's going to work, or a second officer that's going to work. So, I mean, somewhere we got to draw
But
the
you're right, I mean,
line.
if the main offenders are actual lake residents, they
Right.
know that when the police are there or not,
Exactly,
so-
and so I
is it
think we need to have it
If you if you drive down to the access and as you're backing your car up, you go,
Yeah,
Well, if we had a canopied hoist there,
right.
nobody'd know if the boat was there or not if the canopy's down.
well, whatever. But I'd like to have
It's
it
a
looked
tough can of
into.
worms.
We'll get a cardboard top, we'll cut a couple of,
Yeah.
I really
Boats
think
out on the lake.
that we should present it to council, to ask the chief to look into it and see, what our options are.
okay.
Because he's done a great job with, the enforcement. We've had an officer, and I don't know if it transpired or not, who was going to leave, and he was at council meeting last week, and he had a person in line to replace him if that other person left. So let's put it there to have them do the research and,
Doesn't hurt to ask.
right.
Yeah, just get the information.
So I think a gun in my backyard, I see everybody zipping by, I'll just hit them whenever I'm out there.
I was gonna
I don't know
put a
what
police
that-
emblem on my drone.
Well, I mean, if somebody's making a motion, I'd say make a motion. Who's making a motion for what?
Oh, I make a motion that we send it to council to ask them if the police chief can look into enforcement and the possibility of a radar gun or piece of equipment that can check into boating speeds.
Somebody second?
Support.
Yeah. Basically, that if we write a ticket for speeding, we've got some teeth in it. It's not just, well, it looked like he was doing 80.
Okay.
Who was that seconded by?
Me, Sinkowitz.
Oh, Snyder.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Okay. Did you guys want me to read that motion back to you?
Yeah. Can you?
Yeah.
I'm sure it's gonna come back much cleaner than it went out.
Motion by Malik, seconded by Snyder, to ask council to research the possibility of an additional lake enforcement and/or the purchase of a radar gun for lake use.
Good.
Oh, I have a question before we go on. Should we state to have council have the chief research it?
That's what she wrote.
Yeah.
No, I don't think so.
No, I'll add that in there to ask Chief Ellsworth.
Okay. You want to read it back one more time and then we'll do a roll call vote?
Motion by Malik, seconded by Snyder, to ask council to, request of council maybe, to ask Chief Ellsworth to research the possibility of additional lake enforcement and/or the purchase of a radar gun for lake use.
Correct. Thank you.
Roll call vote?
All right, Malik,
Yes.
Snyder.
Yes.
Sinkwitz.
Yes.
Jankowski.
Yes.
Martini.
Yes.
Malik.
Yes.
Jennings.
Yes.
I got to vote twice.
All right. Anything else here in lake enforcement?
Wasn't this Huron Valley watershed supposed to be taken off there?
Yeah.
Listen, you know what happens? She
This is
sends
the
me
third
this,
meeting now.
or no, she sends me this thing, and then I say, looks good.
We'll motion to take that.
No, it's good. I'm gonna write the email right now.
Things to remove.
Don't-
Eagle Grant.
Eagle Grant and Huron Valley.
Eagle, Grant, and Huron Valley. The Huron Valley is supposed to be Snyder's, actually.
Yes.
I don't think you go to those meetings, do you?
No.
You know, you say Huron Valley, I think of our house.
I was gonna be in touch with them. We keep swinging and missing at each other. I think they'd be a good group to know more about. I'll just bring it up if I ever make that connection.
Yeah, and our goals and objectives, this keeps coming up as well.
Yeah, we have that. That's a good one.
Do we have goals and objectives?
Yes, we could talk about that today.
All right.
Well, I'll talk about something different, but let me just write this before I forget. 10D and 10F from all right. Sorry. I just want to make sure I do this so you guys don't yell at me again next week. All right. So next thing is the goals and objectives. So we will talk about this today. So just because we have some new members here. So we do have kind of a pile of stuff that which I'll have to send this out. It'll be easier to go through. It would be nice if we had a screen that we could look at.
No, we keep talking about that. Is that,
Probably, I don't know.
can we make a motion?
To ask the council.
To have some technology and internet in this room.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have a couple areas where we generally partition up the types of stuff we're supposed to be thinking about on the water board so that people kind of have little areas of focus of things that are interesting to them, right? And the expectation is not that you become some magical expert in the areas, but maybe a little extra focus in that area for an individual person if it makes you happy, right? So if safety is your thing and you want to like think about what we can do, you could be that person, right? If you think the harvester is awesome and you want to track the hours on the harvester, and like we talked about doing like a educational video on the harvester, we looked at, alternate harvesters, you could do that, right? So we kind of have the buckets of stuff that we'll throw names next to. And we haven't done it in a while, but we had a lot of attrition. We had a lot of people moving around. So it's probably worth just going through some of these higher level things. I don't think we have to go into super detail on everything, but we've got a lot of people's names on things that are no longer with the board. So I think it's probably worth it if we just comb through this thing and say, who wants to be the guy, right? That's going to be roughly the point person on these things, so.
Oh, we also need to talk about what's the real expected output of this, too.
Yep. Yep.
And then.
Because I know I was
list.
put on to be the invasive species moderate expert, and, so what's the intended output of that?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
I've got a lot of things I've gathered, but
I think it's, like I said, when we originally started this, we basically were saying, put it this way, if somebody comes in or complains about something and they say, oh, this type of weed, this is driving me crazy, here's a picture. I can't tell you what that is. I have no idea what they look like, I don't know the different ones.
Years ago, before we had a water board, and remember we were talking about it, it was, our mission is to maintain the integrity of the lake,
You want me to read our?
its usability, and its cleanliness, or
yeah.
And educate
Yeah.
the community as to the do's and don'ts.
like I got a couple neighbors that, I think when they put their gas in their boat, they hold it up here and hope it hits the tank.
Here's, for people that, I'll send this out to, there's a lot of stuff I could send, I guess I have to send out. Function and purpose. The function and purpose of the Water Management Board shall be the following. The Water Management Board shall act and serve as an advisory capacity to the Village Council. The Water Board shall investigate and make recommendations to Village Council on water management issues affecting safety, health, recreational opportunities of the village residents and visitors. The Water Management Board shall review and make recommendations on matters affecting the lakes, wetlands, and aquifers of the village. The board, in its studies, shall make recommendations aimed at preserving to the highest reasonable degree possible, and where possible, improving the quality of the waters of the village. Issues affecting related matters such as wells and stormwater shall also be under the purview of the board. So that is the actual charter of the board.
Does the board have a Google Drive?
I have a Google Drive where I store all my stuff.
I didn't know
I
if
can
there
send
was
you a
like
link. No, I've asked for where's the storage of all this stuff? And they're like, there's like a file cabinet over there.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it's back there.
And we had a guy, John Scott, who was previously on the board, who was like the person with all the paperwork buried on his computer somewhere, right? So I inherited some of that paperwork. I track my own stuff. I have a bunch of stuff on a Google Drive, but there's not a central location. But everybody has the link to the drive, so I'll just send you guys the link, and I have it in folders on the bird count and all of the stuff, right? It's all there, right?
Okay.
The charter, there's a folder that says the charter. You can go get the charter and stuff, but it's just my own collection of stuff.
Okay.
And that's on Google Drive?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you sent it to me. Could you resend that?
I need somebody to come over and open it.
Yes. Okay. Anyway, let's just spend 5 minutes going through this. And then, like I said, we did have, the goals. I mean, you can look at the charter, right? Maintain and improve lake improvement, continue to improve the safety of use of Wolverine Lake, maximize the ability of the villagers to enjoy its lakes and its shorelines, and then continue in supporting long-range goals of lake health, lake safety, recreational use, et cetera. And then we had a list of board projects that we probably have to go back and revisit those as well. All right, so the types of areas that we basically said, so for example, we go back to your discussion about the weed expert, the lake weed expert.
I'm glad you qualified that.
If somebody walked in here today and showed me a picture of something, I can't tell you what's what. Right. No idea, right? I don't know which ones, because, who was the guy that used to be the guy before you?
Who was the guy that used to?
Oh, Mike.
Oh, yeah.
Mike.
He was the guy, right? So nobody had to know anything, because Mike Sargent would be like, oh, it's this. We had a guy on the board who was
If you say Kara, you're got a 70% chance that that'll be the right answer.
But anyway, I don't know what they are, right? And I honestly don't know which ones you're not supposed to get with the harvester. I don't know which ones you're supposed to do when, right? we hire somebody to know it, right? But he's not here, and if there's a question, maybe you could answer it.
Yes, it's always Eurasian milfoil.
Anyway, but I feel like either we all should,
Star word,
we
yeah.
should all know it, right? Or somebody should be on point to at least make an effort to
Because I
know.
have been collecting stuff, so I have like a whole little PowerPoint
Right,
on
so
the common
next
stuff,
time,
so,
next month, we'll give you a test.
Yeah, let's just.
And we'll give you a quiz and
What's the next topic?
and we'll see, and we'll see if you qualify. Okay, so the first area is under lake and lake health and water quality, and we had the weed population for water and land-based weeds, and being the owner of the topic was you. You're still on that because you're still here. Okay, there's one about the harvester, right? So anything around the harvester, which was documenting the loads, the hours, where it goes, the monthly reports, maintenance reports, anything about the harvester. I've been covering it. I would gladly give that to somebody if somebody's interested in having it. Otherwise, I'll do it.
Out of curiosity, where do you find all that information?
So I asked, they were tracking it, right? And then I asked them to take the map and do the hours and put it on the website, and then I download it, and then I just put it all in a spreadsheet. But that's how I know how many hours we've used it for the last 3 years, because I've been tracking the harvester stuff for the last 3 years. So anybody want harvester? Otherwise, I will continue harvester.
I'll take harvester.
You want harvester?
Sure.
Boom. It's been reassigned. It's Grant. And I will send you information on where to get the information, where the documents are, and you could, for this, there was a point in time where we were thinking about maybe adding a second harvester, or, do we want to go with something different or whatever? And like I said, there's definitely, probably less this year, but there's been a lot of interest in the community of like, why isn't the harvester running? And this was really, I would say, before COVID, because nobody was home seeing the harvester running, and it's not running at 6 p.m. when you're using the lake, it's running when you're at work. Since more people are at home, I think they see it a lot more. So a lot of questions of why aren't we running it has gone down. We've also increased how often we're running it, right? We got two operators running it now, so it's like, and it didn't break down this year, so, it's kind of just keep an eye on if it's working, reach out, you could reach out to the coordinator, if when they're not posting the hours on the website, like making sure that, they put the hours up there, that we tally the hours, we have some plan for it.
Who maintains it?
Maintains the harvester, like the actual maintenance?
Preventive maintenance
Yeah, so
schedules?
DPW here does it, and if necessary, they hire people out to do the work, but DPW does it.
There's got a lot of tools.
Yeah, and I'm in operations, so preventative maintenance, continuous improvement, those
Boom.
things, that's what I do.
We had a problem a couple of years ago that when it was put away, the fuel cells weren't drained.
Yeah.
And when it went to start it, it was like grease.
Don't-
What happens to diesel fuel when it sits for 6 months?
I would suggest if you have that type of interest, that you talk to the administrator, and then through him can get coordinated to sit down with Andy Stone. Okay, because you don't want to go in busting up the DPW and saying, geez, I'm going to,
No.
I'm just saying, that would be the proper chain of command
Yeah.
to work through.
You don't want to step on any toes in the garage because...
Like I said, everything with the harvester right now, it looks like it's running well, it's running often, it's
Exactly.
pulling weeds, and we're not getting complaints. Good,
Yep.
but as things come up, track the hours, this type of stuff. So I'll send you a link to the spreadsheet that we have. I'll send you a link to the information, who the manufacturer of the harvester is, just get to know it, right? And I'd say, at one point in time, there's a lot of questions about how it operates, and sometimes people are like, why can't it come closer to my dock, or can it go in the canal, can it get under the bridge, these types of things. One time we talked about putting together some kind of educational video on it, like just go with because you can just go with the operator on the harvester, right, if you wanted to. You could do a video explaining it, whatever we want to do from an education purpose, we'll kind of all be within scope. Whatever you want to do with the topic, do with it.
You ought to go for
Go for a ride on it.
Right. I've been on
Go
it
for a ride on it.
and operated it a few times.
But again,
It's really unique.
I say, go through David, the administrator, And that way, the introduction to the DPW to the machine, everything will fall in place, I believe,
Yeah.
would be the proper way to go.
So in Q2 of 2020, we said we were going to do an info video, and I failed to do that, so that's been out there for roughly 2 years. Okay, erosion has been Snyder. It's been very quiet since Mike Hurst has left. He was the erosion guy. Snyder's not as fired up about it as Mike was. So,
I'll stay on.
all right. Fish population was Ed. Anything around stocking, DNR, habitats. You were our fish guy.
I'm the fish guy.
So you're the fish guy. Water quality was Snyder, which we didn't do much on that.
No, well,
Look how nice it's been this year, right?
No, but we talked about.
He was out there
No, we had,
sweeping it,
we have,
cleaning it.
we have budget for actual water quality testing and all of this other stuff. We talked about doing some self-sampling and, yeah, you had ideas at one point.
Yeah,
What
okay.
happened? Yes.
Well, here, I'll tell you what happened, well, it's gonna be on TV. One of the issues that I was thinking is that we used to, first off, because we didn't have a goose roundup this year, my concern is that you might end up with some E. coli issues, because you end up with more waterfowl fouling the lake. But I remember in this very meeting room one time, I mentioned thinking it would be interesting to get a water sample after one of the swimming parties. And, bless you. And someone thought I should put my house up for sale if I ever published the results of the water test after a swimming party, so I kind of dropped that idea.
What's a swimming party?
You know how they get the barge parties out there, and you get
Yeah.
all the boats together,
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
everybody
Okay,
drinks along
okay.
them.
I feel sorry for those people that
Kids in
live
the
there
pool.
in that corner.
Yeah. So, but I think the water quality has been
You know, another thing, I don't know if they still have it here, and I think Bob had been, we used to go out with a session desk.
Yeah, we still do it every year.
Yeah.
Do you guys do that?
No.
It's part of the report.
Paul does that, right?
Paul reports on it. He does it like 5 readings a year.
Yeah.
And then at the end of the year, he gives us the trend.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next area was lake bottom, whether that's muck,
That's it.
stump removal,
Oh.
all that stuff. That, we don't have anybody looking at that anymore because
The muck is so deep.
like, so
can't do anything.
the canal
You
representative.
can't dredge.
Right.
We took out almost 200 stumps, 15, 20 years ago, so we're done.
I'm not saying, here's the list of stuff we're going to
35
do.
I'm just wondering,
What was on
is that even relevant? I mean, is there anything that, is
No,
that
it's not
even
relevant.
actionable? I mean, can anybody do
So-
anything about that?
Not really.
At one point, we basically had somebody on the board that lived in the canal, right? That was near and dear to their heart and was supposed to take action on these things, involve the community, figure out what needs to be done. We had a lot of complaints out of the canals. So we had somebody on the board that felt responsible for those issues. If we want to say, if somebody comes in with those same issues and we say, sorry, not sorry, we can do that too, right? Or we have somebody that feels like this is within their scope of caring.
But you have to remember, in front of my house, from the bridge to the access, I moved in, it was about 2 feet deep. And then you went through the muck and it stopped at about 4. And 45 years ago, I went and got a permit and we dredged that all out. And we paid for everything, getting it out, hauling it out, and everything. But people on the canal think the village should pay for this.
No, but I think,
That's where the hangup comes in, because we were both on council. They said,
It
well,
was-
why should we have to pay for it?
79 when we did the big drawdown
Yeah.
and removed all the stumps.
Took the lake down 5
Because I
feet.
was involved with Spring Lake Heights way back then, our subdivision. And we had a permit, and we had a neighbor that had a little front end loader. And all he did was kept pulling the stuff out with this little front end loader till he started to hit solid. And we filled a 10-yard dump truck that we took over to another neighbor who had an empty lot.
Through
next
their
door.
lake.
No, and we dumped it in that lot to bring that lot up, and it was an empty lot, and then the guy bought the lot because he had a perfect piece of property.
Right.
We put down mesh, and we had 2 doubles of sand come in and put all that in. I went ahead and our Spring Lake Heights beach is a registered beach with the DNR. Okay, I think it's the only registered beach on this lake with the DNR.
Yep, that's why they come and do the water test there, I bet.
You know, and it's just what
So I
people
think it
don't
goes back
look
to, I
at.
mean, is that an actionable?
I don't know, right now, right, we don't have, like I said, we can't do that anymore. You
No.
can't just scoop a bunch of stuff out and dump it somewhere anymore. So I'll leave it as, if somebody feels passionate about it and wants to be the
Is that
person.
a question for Paul when he comes here? Is there anything that we can do to reduce the bioburden?
Yeah, I mean, we literally had conversations about this already, where we talked about going to the canal area, going to the other area, sampling what's there, trying to understand what is there. First, you gotta test it, to see what's in it and if you can do anything about it. Then you gotta go figure out if you can get all these people on a SAD or something, then they could help pay for it, put it on their taxes. Like, it involves community involvement and actually getting things done. And it involves somebody to champion those types of actions. If we don't want to do it, we don't, I'm not saying we have to go do this, but I'm just saying, do we want somebody on the board who feels like this is in their area of caring?
Well, as far as soil goes, that's what I did my whole life. So if you want to put my name down there, go ahead. But just a little, when I moved in here 50 years ago, about 2 years after I was here, there was a woman who had a company, Sylvia Bays, that did stuff with water and dredging and stuff. We had a contractor that came in here and told the council that for give or take $1 million, he would get the average depth along the shoreline 5 feet deep, the whole damn lake,
When was that?
about 48 years ago. And they were going to pump it into there, on the other side of Glengarry, had permission from the DNR, as long as the canal wasn't filled. And then we were going to block the island and that strip there where when you go into Penny Lake, and use bulldozers with wide tracks and pull it all up, take it away. There weren't enough year-round people here that wanted to spend that kind of money.
In hindsight, people would probably go for that now.
Oh,
But $1 million back in 50 years ago?
I'd love to have 5 feet.
Well,
I'd
the
love to be able
trouble
to
is-
dive off my dock.
everybody, their cottages, and, they buttoned them up in October, came back in March.
Okay, next section is all about safety. So we had somebody assign that, again, left the board, but this is about making sure we're running the voter safety course. Any kind of training associated with the board. We talked about some kind of snowmobile safety course, perhaps, that we never actually executed. So anybody have safety passionate to their heart? They want to be the person that makes sure we're doing voter safety courses. There's not a lot of work involved at this.
I can probably do that.
Good, Jennings.
So that's just like organizing when the class will be.
Yep, it's
Well,
just,
you would
usually the
contact
police
the
chief is
police
doing
chief
it,
and-
right? But it's just working with them, making sure that the class is happening. If there are, like, for example, we just, like, changed the signs, or, one of the things that we were always talking about is, we have the tickets here, right?
Wasn't the snowmobile course canceled last year?
Yeah.
Water, you'll get a lot.
Yeah, but we'll talk about, like, just in general, right? What are the types of things we can do to improve safety? Maybe that gets tied in with enforcement. We have, for example, we just talked about executing, previously there was a whole, like, voter education thing that we did at the boat launch, that we have talked about now for a year of reviving, and we actually got budget for this year. So next spring, right, we were talking about having that kicked off again, right? And it's kind of working with, it could be like the Lakes Area Bait Shop and other people, and these guys know a lot more about it than I do, but having some kind of safety event down at the boat launch that's like a community event, right? So you could be part of working with Parks and Rec, right? Collaborating with the other boards to execute something like that. So it just in general saying safety is within your purview, think about it in the back of your mind, something comes up, just, you got to be the person kind of thinking through maybe what needs to change, if anything, right?
Okay.
And it could be anything. We have unlimited bandwidth. As much effort as we're willing to put in, we can execute, right? So,
And we are fortunate, we have a police department.
Yeah.
Chief, starting with the chief and the officers that work on the lake, who are willing to listen, okay?
Yeah.
And research and do, like they put together, we had 2 classes for boater safety, and both classes were full. I mean, they were maxed out, okay? So it is not necessarily just people from Wolverine Lake. It's publicized, and you get them from the surrounding community. And it's very educational for the average person that isn't aware of safeties on lakes.
and like I said, anything, like, for example, we bring the police chief in twice a year, right? Or like before the season starts, the boating season starts, see if there's anything, like, most of the safety stuff is all around education. Like, we talked about getting the rules on a pamphlet at the DNR launch and giving it to people as they come in and stuff like this. Not like us physically being there, but having them there for people to take.
It goes a little pamphlet at the house that's for sale, kind of pull it out or whatever.
So there's things that can be done there, and it's more just thinking about what we want to do as a board, right? And some of it is, like I said, working with the police chief. Pretty much every time it comes back as the biggest offenders of not listening to the rules are essentially people that live on the lake that already know the rules, right? So it's like, it's kind of a
What can I get away with today?
self-fulfilling prophecy, but anyway, I'll put you down as generic point person for safety stuff, right?
Sure.
And just poke around a little bit. I'll send you
Keep it
guys.
technical.
Yeah,
Safety stuff.
yeah, safety stuffs. So I'll send you a list of like the types of things that fall in the bucket. I'll send, after this meeting, probably maybe tomorrow, I'll just send a link to all these different things and you guys can kind of surf around through it. Okay, social media, I'm on it all the time anyway, so I'll just keep it. We have a section for equipment, for buoy positioning, upgrades, signage, rules. That was you.
I took care
Keep
of the thing that
You took care of
needed to
it?
be
Yeah.
done, yeah.
The one buoy light's not on out there,
Really?
Yeah.
Which one?
over by Tampa.
Oh, really?
Uh-oh, somebody's slipping on this.
You live over by there. You
Right, so every time he goes out on the lake at night, he's
Mine's
saying,
by
"Are
the
my buoys
bridge."
lit up?"
Yeah.
Right? And then when they're not, you gotta tell the police chief, and they go in, I don't know, change the bulb.
You gotta light the candle.
They put the mouse back on the little treadmill. But we just upgraded the signs, for example. That was like within scope of him, and he went and looked at what signs we wanted and got new signs. So
So the no wake one over there by Tampa's out, huh?
it was out when I came back the other day, yeah.
All right. It must have just gone out because I've been looking visual.
All right. Okay, waterfowl count, boat count.
I'll do that with you on Sundays at a better date.
Okay, all right. Okay, fish habitats, fish contests, that was all Ed, you're the fish dude. Stormwater management, wells and septic. Snyder, that was you. I don't know what else there is to have there, but I think,
All kind of folds into water quality.
yeah. And then dam and berm quality and lake level. There's not really anything to do there. Inspection every 5 years and just making sure we know what's up at the lake level, which is now automated. So it's not really much to do there. I have it under myself. Okay, I'll send this out. We should add stuff if there's areas you guys are interested in, right? When you join the board, right, there's got to be some interests that spark your interest. So if there are areas you think you want to jump in and take ownership of, and we did like the special assessment district and stuff. That was something that we executed. Changing the signs, getting the level for the lake, so everybody has that stuff. Like anything that you think is something you're passionate about, start driving it.
Cal, I just mentioned that when Chief was in here talking about some of the things I used to do, there was a pamphlet, and I took pictures of both sides of it, so I can text it to you after, so you can see
Yeah,
what,
that'd be great.
Yeah.
and we could just update, and it looks sort of
And this year we
dated.
did get budget for those things this year, for like the pamphlets and stuff, so we could do it for spring next year.
So, I had a different idea about that. Instead of like a brochure, that just having like almost like a street sign with just like a list of the rules as they drive up, so it's not something they actually have to
Yeah, we have.
The rules are, we did
Okay.
put a new sign up there with the rules
We got
on
two.
there, but
Okay.
there are some
Down.
handout thing, yeah, there's some,
Just-
I'll
you
send
might
this
have
to
to
you.
read
Nobody
it to some
pays any
people.
attention to
Yeah, right. But, so one thing, Ed, I think you had mentioned at the last meeting that, when we talked about the fish, the smaller bluegills that we had, so there was an article, do you guys get?
I've been catching them left and right.
Yeah, well, there's a thing, I think it's called Lakefront, do you get that
Yeah.
thing they send out like maybe quarterly or a little,
Oh,
I think it's a
yeah,
little, maybe, I don't know. But they talked about the bluegill issue and what they said in this, and they did a study on the fish, and they said as far as the bluegill goes, so typically they're eaten by, the predators for them are the bass and the bigger fish. So when the vegetation grows more in the bottom of the lake than it should be, the bluegill hide in there, and so the big fish can't eat them, and then what happens is there's so many bluegills in there, it reduces the amount of food that they have because there's such a bigger population
stunted.
hiding that they get smaller. So I thought of you when I read that, because you had asked why the bluegill were so small, so
Like I
much
said,
smaller.
I remember
I catch so many of them off the dock.
quite a few years ago,
All sides.
where the DNR came in and put a chemical along the shoreline, and anything 2 inches or smaller, it was dead. And we just thought, oh my God, this is going to stink. And in 3 days, it was all gone. Something came and ate it.
Yeah. Well,
But yeah, they're just stunted like that, and it's the little ones and the medium-sized ones and the big ones, and
Yeah,
But
that-
because you
that
had mentioned
eliminated
about the
a lot of
bluegills
them.
being smaller than you're used to, but there was an article as to why that could be.
I have talked to other people that have been here for a long time, and they said, my wife would never go into the lake because they
Yeah.
pick at them.
Yeah.
She's out there all the time.
Good.
So,
Okay, so that's all I had for goals and objectives. Clean Boat, Clean Waters, we'll skip because we kind of already talked about it as part of the Eagle Grant.
Website, how we have.
Website content. So I called Julie today because I knew everybody was going to say, why haven't you done anything? But she didn't answer, so. No, I called her. I left her a voicemail and I texted her. So for the website, we're trying to like update some stuff on the website and maybe do some kind of like interactive map or something where you can, see where you're allowed to do various things or where the no wake zones are, really for the village, it's not about the lake. Have something more interactive on the website for people, which I wrote up like a draft of what we might want to do. We sent out like a request to a couple website companies or whatever, like kind of open.
So did we hear back from them? Did they give
No,
us
we basically
any
got,
bids?
one company said acknowledged, not interested, another company didn't answer, and then a resident in the village, Julie Height, responded that she'd be interested in it. I don't know that she had the full scope of what we were looking for, so I was supposed to follow up with her. Did today, but I didn't get in touch with her, so I gotta follow up.
Is that her forte? She does
She does
that?
websites. I don't know if she does the type of thing we need to get done, but
and she's
well,
been
maybe it's-
helpful along for quite a few years,
yeah.
for different things in the village.
So maybe if she can't do this, maybe because that's her area of interest, maybe she knows other companies
Yeah.
that could do this.
Yep.
Since the other ones said they weren't interested and didn't respond.
Yep. So it's on me. That's been, it's just been my own open item. Okay, future business items or open discussion. Anybody have anything you'd like to add? Sounds like I got a lot of email and document linking to do for everybody. Okay, so nothing good there. So liaison reports. What's up with the council?
Well, how about a lot of stuff? Okay, first one is we're contracting a company to come in and update these restrooms here, which will be the handicap equipped. They are now, but the doors will have the push buttons like you have the doors out here, and that'll get done here in the next month or whatever. The money's then allocated, and it's been an ongoing thing, but it's now going to be contracted out to do. And then the chief, they've ordered new a camera system, okay, for the village. And I could be wrong, but there's somewhere around 20 cameras. We're going to have new camera down at the boat launch. We're going to have new cameras in the Clara Miller. And there's, I could be wrong, there's like 14 or 16 cameras in and around this facility here, okay? The parking lot, the garages, everything. And that's all been ordered to start, and that's like a $40,000 bill.
And why so many cameras? I mean, have they been having
Because
problems?
there's that much potential for problems, okay? The Clara Miller cameras in the past, I don't know, there's one or two down there now. They have filmed people, or whether they're residents or whatever, individuals, destroying whatever, they've been able to utilize them. Well, now we've added the new building down there,
Yeah.
okay, so it's all got to change and be updated. And then the new computer system, the new phone system, is in now, totally operating.
For what?
For the whole office, we got rid of AT&T and brought in a new system, which was more economical as far as dollars and cents go, and they offer a lot more, okay? Because we got to be tied into Oakland County for dispatching, the radios and body cameras and, just everything in general, so.
Bob, was there a big upgrade in the computer system?
Yes, that's another thing.
That was last year, right?
No, that's
That's going on
just
now.
gone through. I think it might be done now. I'm sorry, I've neglected that. Thanks for bringing it up. But that was something also that we spent a lot on the upgrades because the technology,
outdated.
well, you know that, technology is changing all the time. And in order to stay in tune with the government systems, we have to make these changes, so.
Training
It's
people.
never ending.
Assuming they're training people on how to use it?
Well, yeah, I guess,
World-class equipment when nobody knows how to use it?
no, the
Kinda like
people
our-
we have,
Screen up there?
But it's like this screen that nobody
yeah,
knows how to use.
well, that, we have that up on village council meetings.
But
So
I,
it does work, huh?
yeah, and
Oh, yeah.
we've had, you can,
They had a picture of a picnic? No.
you can cast to it.
Yeah, it doesn't have like Chromecast kind of thing?
Yeah, you can cast to it. I'm the only person that ever brings a computer, and this computer, it's a work computer, my IT team won't let me do that. Right?
No.
So
it's
this
not
won't
that,
cast.
it's you.
Yeah,
Oh.
Doug Nye is casted up there too, but what I'm looking at are little Excel spreadsheets, and you put that thing up there, you're not gonna be able to see it anyway, right? But you can cast.
Oh, okay.
My computer just won't. This
I don't know
dinosaur.
if mine will or not.
Yeah.
This is also a work computer, so I don't
Yeah.
know.
This
I don't
thing-
usually cast from this.
Yeah, this thing.
I guess what you'd have to do is come in and talk to the people upstairs, the administrator, and possibly the bills, I don't know who
This
can.
is, we've used it before.
I'm sure I just tool around with it for about 5 minutes.
Yeah, it's not hard. You
Yeah.
can find it.
I don't know anything about it,
Just get
don't
that
want
one
to.
cable and plug it in there. yeah.
Actually, you know what's funny is I brought in like a 20-foot or like 25-foot HDMI once,
Yeah.
and I connected to it, and then I swear I left that cable in that closet right there.
Yeah.
And then I went to look for it another time, it wasn't there. So
No, don't leave it there, take it home.
I don't want, I'm not lugging a 25-foot HDMI cable around.
Yeah, it's pretty long.
Okay, all right,
Other than that, I have nothing else.
what's the plan?
Well, we didn't have a meeting last month, but we will have one this month. So next month, I'll have things to talk about for the planning
Off the
commission.
hook again.
Okay.
All right.
All right, comments from the board members. Anything to add, anybody?
I have a question. I don't know if anybody's noticed, but from the village on the north side of Glengarry, and then when you turn to go south on South Commerce, all those bushes are dead and burned out.
Yeah, there's quite a few.
And-
By the sign, you mean?
Well, no, I mean, the whole stretch. I mean, they're not died like, they didn't get watered. They just look like they've been chemically treated.
Yeah, there's a line going
Yeah.
across.
Yeah.
It's very, I've seen it a lot.
And it's
Wonderful.
ugly as
North side of
hell.
the road?
Yeah,
North side?
when you leave,
On that side?
and then when you turn right
Side.
to go south,
It's almost like a
so
strike.
it's a whole side of the village there. It's, until you get to those apartments, this, just bushes are burned out and trees.
So the west side you're talking about, right?
West-
Yeah.
west-
South on South Common?
North side here, west side there.
Okay, let me ask a question.
Oh.
Does the county come in and spray?
Well, I asked our administrator, I said, do you know, and he checked, and I asked him again today, and he said, no. And he said, well, if the county does anything, they always notify the village that they're gonna do that. And I just noticed it, and I just thought if anybody had any ideas what happened.
Is that council purview at all, or no?
That's not even the village on that side.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, that,
North side of Glengarry?
Not, once you get down a little bit farther, past the dam, that's village.
North side of Glengarry, that's
No,
village.
because Heron
Hello,
Hills is
where you
over there.
been?
Oh, yeah, where you been?
Yeah, Heron Hills is part of
on
that.
South Common, north? Wow. Oh.
I didn't know, I thought that, yeah.
You see this? Pay attention.
Oh, yeah, the part that's not on the map. Yeah, I got
Go
you.
to sleep.
Yeah, right up there.
It's all village from here up. But it's
The part that's not on the map up there.
Right.
It's along here and along here.
The appended map, okay, it's like Alaska.
And I didn't know.
I didn't notice
Yeah, it's
that.
Alaska.
Before you shut down your computer, in council comments, I would like us to send a note to the village to check into who's going to trim the Benstein between the pathway and the roadway.
Yeah, you know
It's
what, that's a
so
good
overgrown.
point. What is going on with that?
Yeah, I don't know
noticed
if
that
it's the
too.
village that does it,
Yes, that's
or if it's
horrible.
the county. So that would be something the water board should
Yeah.
send to David to have him look
It's got all
into.
those rat weeds and.
Oh, yeah, it's
I mean, It's
awful.
horrible looking, yeah, you're right. And just a question, so they planted a bunch of trees over in Hickory Glen, you know, where they're,
Right.
that's not our board at all, right? That's
No.
something else.
That's,
The, if you went by where the dam is, the creek, you can see where it goes across the lake into there. And then this part down here, off of Glengarry, is all wooded,
Right.
okay? And then this is where the apartments are and this, and then the strip mall and all that, that's all the village and the car wash.
Yeah, yeah.
So you can see that if this is Wolverine Lake, just about right where the dam is our corner. And then that's all the way up to,
And that section goes all the way back to where the credit union is.
Yeah.
That's part of the village too.
yeah.
Yeah, because Heron Hills, all those apartments are condos, and then all the apartments that they put
Redwood,
in,
that's all
that's
us.
all the village.
But the benching, that walkway, that is all part of council, right?
Yeah, that's part of our,
Yeah.
you know, we worked on the bridge that's put in
Yeah,
over
yeah,
there.
right, because I know we talked about it
And
last
that bridge
one
is so
about.
nice, and even the bridge that goes over the spillway
Yeah.
versus what we have on,
But we talked about last meeting that there was
Yeah.
some vandalism to some of the.
well, yeah, but that was a number of months ago, but
Yeah.
the boards are starting to have some big problems that David Gillum and Andy had gone through. And I think I had mentioned at the last meeting, there was over 50 boards on the walkway that had to be replaced.
I sent a note to that.
Do we need it?
I'm done.
All right, I think we're good. Comments from the board members, we good? Anybody else got anything to add?
Motion to adjourn.
Second that.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.